My fiancé tried to frame me to get out of the wedding. So I, 29F, was supposed to get married this fall. I say supposed to because everything has gone completely sideways in the last few weeks, and I'm still reeling from what I found out. It's like my entire relationship got pulled out from under me in slow motion, and now I'm just trying to make sense of the wreckage. Let me back up. I met my fiancé, Ethan, 32M, 4 years ago at a friend's New Year's party. He was charming, a little shy, but once he opened up, he had this dry, self-deprecating humor that I adored. We moved in together after 2 years, got engaged last summer, and started planning a small but elegant wedding. Nothing crazy, just 80 guests, backyard venue, lots of string lights and homemade food. We were on the same page about everything, or so I thought. About 2 months ago, I noticed Ethan started acting weird. Not like cheating weird. More like, avoidant. Distracted. Like he'd flinch when I brought up the flower arrangements or the tasting menu. I chalked it up to stress. His job had just promoted him, and he was working long hours. Plus, I knew wedding planning could be overwhelming, even if I was doing most of the heavy lifting. Then it got worse. He stopped talking about the wedding altogether. Didn't want to look at the venue mock-ups, barely reacted when I showed him my final dress pick. Anytime I tried to have a serious conversation about it, he'd say, "I'm just tired," or "let's not talk about this right now." At one point, I even joked, "You're not trying to ghost me before the wedding, right?" He laughed, but it was the kind of laugh that doesn't reach your eyes. The air felt off. Like he knew something I didn't. And then I got the message. An anonymous Instagram DM. From a burner account with no posts, no followers. Just a screenshot and a one-sentence message. Thought you should know what your fiancé's up to. The screenshot showed a series of DMs, supposedly between me and some guy named Chris. The messages were flirty, like, explicitly flirty, and referenced things like hotel meetups and late-night phone calls. There was even a blurry pic of me in what looked like my old apartment, wearing a hoodie I hadn't worn in years. I stared at the screen for a long time. My stomach dropped. I knew immediately that wasn't me. The pic was close, but not quite. The text style was off. Even the way I typed emojis wasn't how I use them. It was a setup. I just didn't know who or why. Yet. So after I got the DM, I sat on it for a whole day. I didn't confront Ethan right away because honestly, I needed to process what I was looking at. The DMs were fake, I was 100% sure. I never had those conversations, never met anyone named Chris, and I definitely never took that photo. But whoever made them? They put effort into it. It wasn't just some half-assed scam. The messages referenced details from my life. Stuff like the color of my old bedsheets, a pendant I used to wear in college. Things you'd only know if you'd been with me. At that point, I was already suspicious. I figured maybe it was someone who had a vendetta against me or against us. But a tiny voice in the back of my head was already whispering something worse. I showed the messages to my best friend, Lila. Her reaction? Why would someone send this to you and not to Ethan, unless they wanted you to freak out first? And then she said the thing I hadn't wanted to say out loud. What if he sent it? I wanted to laugh it off. But the moment she said it, something in my gut twisted. I couldn't ignore how weird Ethan had been. The timing. The distance. The way he kept dodging wedding stuff like it physically pained him. Still, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I waited until that weekend, after dinner, when we were both home. I told him I got a weird DM and needed to talk. His reaction was immediate. He barely glanced at the screen before he stood up and said, "Wow. I knew something felt off lately." I just blinked. "What do you mean?" "You've been cold," he said. "Distant. Sneaking around. And now this shows up?" I swear to God, it was like he was waiting for it. Like he'd rehearsed the whole reaction. Then he said, "I think we need to call off the wedding." Just like that. No discussion. No questions. No asking me if I was okay, or if I had any idea where the message came from. He just looked, weirdly relieved. That was when I knew something was seriously wrong. After Ethan dropped the "let's call off the wedding" line like he was canceling a dinner reservation, I didn't argue. I said, okay. And I meant it, at least in the moment. I was too stunned to do anything else. My heart was thudding so hard I couldn't even think. I just nodded, stood up, and went to the guest room. I locked the door, sat on the bed, and cried as quietly as I could. Here's the thing, though, when someone lies to you, your mind starts working overtime. I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying his face, his words, his weird calmness. And this gut feeling kept crawling up my spine. This wasn't just a breakup. This was a setup. So the next morning, I started digging. I still had the DM with the fake screenshots. I downloaded the images and ran a reverse image search on the photo of me in the hoodie. I figured maybe it was pulled from somewhere online. No matches. Then I zoomed in on the blurry photo. Something caught my eye. A framed picture in the background, barely visible, but unmistakably not mine. It was a painting of a lighthouse. The same exact one hanging in Ethan's guest bathroom at his old apartment. My heart skipped. I kept going. I looked at the fake messages. Screenshots meant to look like Instagram DMs. But whoever made them screwed up just slightly. The username font was off. I checked mine. Instagram uses a very specific spacing in font for handles. The one in the screenshot was wider. Like someone had used a third-party editing app to paste it over. Now I was 95% sure these screenshots were fabricated. But by who, exactly? I remembered something. A few weeks ago, I had borrowed Ethan's iPad to show my cousin some wedding boards. He'd asked me not to close any of his tabs because he was working on something. I thought it was job-related. That iPad was sitting in his home office. While he was out at the gym, I opened it. He didn't have a passcode on the Notes app. Guess what I found? A folder titled Personal Projects. Inside were 3 separate drafts of fake DM conversations with different usernames, layouts, and timestamps. All practice runs. And one note titled backstory_Chris.txt. I swear, my blood went cold. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even wait for him to get home. I took photos of everything. The fake DM drafts. The backstory note for the imaginary guy I was supposedly cheating with. The one that literally started with Chris, met during a writing workshop. Reconnect after a bookstore meetup. Shared interests equals believable affair context. It read like a screenwriter brainstorming a Netflix miniseries about betrayal. Except it was my life. I texted him. When you get home, we need to talk. And don't even think about lying. 2 hours later, he walked in the door looking like a kid caught shoplifting. Not angry. Not shocked. Just guilty. I sat him down and opened my phone. I showed him the files. I didn't even say a word. He stared at them, then covered his face with both hands like he was exhausted. Finally, he muttered. I didn't know how else to get out of it. I blinked. Out of what? The wedding. Everything. I didn't want to hurt you, but I couldn't go through with it. I just stared at him. He continued. You were so excited. You had Pinterest boards. You were bonding with your mom about napkin colors. Every time I tried to bring it up, you'd talk about floral centerpieces or first dance songs. I felt trapped. I said, so your solution was to fake an affair and make me the bad guy? He looked down at his hands. I figured if you thought I was calling off the wedding because of something you did, it would hurt less. Like, it wouldn't feel like rejection. I laughed. Actually laughed. The kind where your face goes numb and your brain short circuits. You thought framing me would be less painful than just talking to me like a human being? He didn't answer. That night, I packed a suitcase and went to Lila's place. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. But I did leave the ring in the kitchen with a sticky note that said, "If you ever want to be a decent man, start by using your words." I wasn't planning on going public. I really wasn't. But Ethan made that choice for me. 2 days after I left, I started getting texts. Not from him, but from mutual friends. One of them, Jess, messaged, "Hey, I'm really sorry about everything. We're here for you. I can't believe you'd do that, but I hope you're okay." Another, "He said he caught you cheating? What the hell happened?" My stomach dropped. This man, who fabricated screenshots, wrote a fictional backstory, and staged his own heartbreak, was out there actively spinning the narrative like I had done something to him. I texted Ethan directly. "You're telling people I cheated? After everything?" He replied, "I just said the wedding was off and we weren't compatible. People made assumptions." Right. Assumptions you encouraged. He was leaning into the lie, letting it buy him sympathy points while I became the villain. That's when I lost my patience. I took all the screenshots I had, his drafts, the Notes app entries, even a screen recording of me clicking through them on his own iPad. Then I wrote a calm, factual post on Facebook. Just the truth. No name-calling, no drama. Just. Since people are asking why the wedding's off, Ethan created fake DMs to make it look like I cheated. I found the drafts in his Notes app. I've included screenshots for context. I didn't cheat. I didn't do anything wrong. I just got manipulated by someone who didn't want to take responsibility for backing out. It blew up. Not viral, but enough that our entire friend group saw it. My family saw it. His mom saw it. I didn't even realize she was on Facebook until she messaged me. "I'm so sorry. I didn't raise him to be this cowardly." Ethan texted me an hour later, full meltdown mode. "Why would you do this to me? This is so humiliating." I told him. "Good. Maybe now you understand what it feels like to be lied about." He never replied. So after the Facebook post detonated, Ethan basically vanished. No texts. No calls. No angry rebuttal to clear his name. Just full-on social media silence and a quiet unfollow spree. Mutual friends said he was taking time to reflect, which is apparently bro code for avoiding consequences. But I was still stuck on why. Like, yeah, okay, fear of commitment, classic. Cowardly? Absolutely. But Ethan wasn't dumb. He didn't just pull this whole elaborate stunt because he was scared of table assignments and vows. There had to be more. Turns out, there was. I got the missing piece from, of all people, his coworker Mark. We'd only met once, but he DM'd me a week after the post went up. "Hey, this might be none of my business, but I figured you deserved to know Ethan accepted a job offer in London. A month ago." He didn't tell you? No. He didn't. He was going to move countries. Without telling me. While we were planning a wedding. While I was choosing linen colors and typing up handwritten vows. This man was getting ready to ghost me across an ocean. Apparently, the new job started in 6 weeks. It was some high-profile PR firm. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Mark said. Ethan had been quietly prepping for it behind the scenes, renewing his passport, ending his lease early, the whole deal. It all made sense. The weird distance. The over-the-top breakup strategy. The silence after being exposed. He wasn't just trying to get out of a wedding, he was trying to vanish from the entire relationship like it never happened. And the worst part? He never planned to tell me. If I hadn't found the fake screenshots, he might have just let me show up to the venue alone like an idiot, wondering why the groom was 3,500 miles away. So I did what anyone would do. I updated the Facebook post. Update: found out Ethan accepted a job in London a month ago and never told me. The fake cheating was just the decoy. He planned to leave everything behind, including me, and start fresh without saying a word. That's when people really turned on him. I got messages from his co-workers, his aunt, even his ex from before me, who said he pulled something similar, less elaborate, more emotionally manipulative. Suddenly, I wasn't the villain. I was just the last in a long line of women he tried to quietly disappear from. So yeah, by this point, everything was scorched earth. His family knew. My family knew. Our friends, co-workers, even our wedding photographer knew. She sent me a refund and a DM that just said, "Girl. Damn." Still, despite the avalanche of truth, Ethan hadn't reached out again. No apology. No explanation. Just radio silence. I figured I'd never see him again, and honestly, I was fine with that. But then he showed up. At Lila's place. I was staying there while I sorted out new housing, since we'd ended our lease early for the wedding, and one evening I came home from grabbing takeout to find Ethan sitting on the front steps. Hoodie up. Eyes puffy. A suitcase next to him. For a second, I froze. Thought maybe I was hallucinating out of sheer emotional exhaustion. But nope. Real Ethan. Real nerve. He stood when he saw me and said, "I know I don't deserve to talk to you." Me, correct. He laughed, short and bitter. I don't even know where to start. You could start with, "I'm sorry I tried to frame you for cheating and then plan to move to another country without telling you." He nodded. Yeah. That's a place to start. We didn't go inside. I didn't invite him in. I sat on the steps, because I figured if he finally had the guts to show up in person, I could at least hear whatever pitiful monologue he'd prepared. He told me everything. How he'd gotten the job offer in London unexpectedly. How he panicked. How he thought maybe he could make the relationship work long distance but didn't want to ask me to sacrifice my life for his. How the wedding started feeling like a trap, not because of me, but because of how small and scared he felt in comparison. He said, "I didn't know how to leave without being the bad guy. So I made you one instead." I just stared at him. Let the silence sit. Then I said, "You do realize you could have just talked to me, right? Like an adult." He nodded. I know. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I said one last thing before I walked inside. "I hope London teaches you how to be honest. Because the person you are right now doesn't deserve love." And I meant it. He left that night. I haven't seen him since. After Ethan left, I did what I hadn't done in weeks. I exhaled. Not cried, not raged, just breathed. It felt like emerging from a locked room that I didn't even realize was getting smaller by the day. The wedding was off. My name was cleared. The chapter with Ethan was shut, sealed, and marked with a fat red never again. But I still had one thing left, the honeymoon. We were supposed to go to Portugal. 10 days. Romantic guesthouses, vineyard tours, sunset kayaking, the whole fairy tale. And of course, it was all non-refundable. Everyone kept telling me, "You should still go. You deserve it." At first I scoffed. What, take a solo honeymoon? Sit on a beach with a glass of wine and toast to what emotional warfare? But then I thought, why not? So I booked a second suitcase, packed every sundress I owned, and boarded that plane alone. Best decision I've ever made. I hiked coastal cliffs with strangers I met at a hostel. I journaled at sunrise and cried once on a cobblestone street in Lisbon, but it felt good. I drank green wine and danced with a woman in her 60s who'd just gotten divorced and kept yelling, "Freedom looks good on you." And yeah, I posted about it. Not as a revenge thing. But as a reminder to myself that the story wasn't ending in shame, it was just changing genres. The unexpected part? A few weeks after I got back, someone messaged me. A friend of a friend from college who'd seen the Facebook post and the Portugal pics. He said. I know this is random, but the way you handled that situation? Total power move. You've got backbone. And if you ever want to grab a drink and swap escape stories, I'm game. We did. And I'll leave that part at a maybe, because not every ending needs to be a new beginning right away. Sometimes, healing gets the last word. But if I learned anything from this whole circus, it's this. You can't control whether someone lies about you. But you can control what you do when the mask falls off. And sometimes the best revenge? Is living like they never had the power to break you in the first place. My fiancé faked screenshots of me cheating to get out of our wedding and make me the villain. I exposed him. Found out he was secretly moving to London. Took the honeymoon solo. Found peace and maybe something new. Anyone else ever taken a solo trip after their life exploded? Tell me I'm not the only one who came back stronger.